Good morning, good afternoon, good night, whenever you view this video, if you view this video. Well, this just goes out to family, the ones who care, the ones who've been keeping up with the story. And it's a long story, it's a year-long story. Involving courts, involving CPS, involving the police. And it is a strange one. So, went to court today. Excuse me while I smoke a cigarette. If you don't smoke, don't smoke. If you do smoke, try to quit. I've tried to quit, been trying to use vape and all of that. It seems like worse than the cigarettes, but I'm trying. So forgive me for my shortcomings. All men fall short, and even a righteous man will fall 7 times. But with what I got going on, I think I'll have a cigarette. So, go to court. As soon as I get there, get called to the front by the bailiff. And he tells me there's a continuation for all of my lawyer's clients because he is occupied somewhere else. He's, most public defenders are overrun. They've got too many cases, can't be 2 places at once. So it's continued. When is it continued? I don't know. They don't know. We'll have to wait a couple days for the court to decide. The caseworker still has not shown up for depositions to answer for the 2 hours it took her to rip my family apart and throw me in jail. And we've been waiting almost 6 months now just for her to answer that. Got my golf attire on. I don't even golf, but hey, it's on. Think I look nice in it, Got a lot of people praying for me. And God's in it. I know He's in it. I know He's doing something. Even when it looks like it doesn't make sense. Even when it looks like it's not going anywhere. But for those of you who are just catching up, let me update you. I wrote an article once for a homeless shelter that my family was in when we first came out here, and good Lord, over 13 years ago. It was 2015, and I moved out here to Missouri, or misery as everyone says, but moved out to Missouri to finally meet my father in person, someone I hadn't seen all of my life, and got the chance to return all of the letters, me and him. Even though my father wasn't there, he made it a point to be a part of my life. Even though he was incarcerated for 18 years, he still made it a point to write letters. The only time we didn't communicate was when he got in trouble and, they put you in a hole and cut off your communications. But as soon as he'd get out, the first thing he'd do is write a letter. Gave me advice through letters, advice about love, advice about being a man, advice about caring. And I took those words to heart. And God lined it up because, what son doesn't want to meet his dad? And we came out here and I finally met him. And I found out that all those weird little quirks that you have, even though I never, got the chances to say good morning every day, love you, him to see me off to school, him to see me graduate. I was a theater kid. He was a theater kid. Him and my uncle. I guess it runs in the blood. He's his mindsets, his mannerisms were exactly like mine, and I was a spitting image of him. And that's where I find the grace of God. That And I just kind of share that with any child that doesn't have a father in their life, that even if they're not around, you're still just like them. If you want to know what they're just like you. So we moved out here with my 8-month pregnant wife and our 2 kids at the moment, 3 children. And the landlord wanted to double the rent just because we had kids, and she didn't want any kids in the house. It was crazy to me because I didn't even know a landlord had that type of power, that they were able to do it. And we were sleeping on the floor of an office. It's not like it was super comfortable, but we were still happy to just have a place to lay our heads. So we went there and didn't have a job at the moment because I moved out here and supposed to have a job, and that fell through too. We were homeless, ended up in a homeless shelter. Homeless shelter helped us to get in a home that we stayed in for 13 years. Raised our kids, they went to school there, made some memories, some good memories. And with any family, yeah, there's bad memories too, because kids will be kids. They want to argue, they don't want to clean, they don't want to do dishes. But we still push through and push them to church and push them to God. And I even told my kids, the greatest thing I can give you is my God. I'm not a rich man. I don't have much. But all I can give you is God. So I tried to introduce them the best way I could. We finally got to a point where we decided we're going to go home. We're going to go back to where family is. We're going to go back to what we know. And on the day that we decided we were going to leave because it was just too much, landlord called the caseworker. Only one person out of this whole event has accused me of having my kids sleep in a tent. And it was the landlord. And the funny thing was that the kids weren't even staying at the house at that time. They were staying with a friend of my wife who she had met through DoorDash, because I had a water leak. And the crazier part of that, water, sewage, trash, that's all run by the electric company. They cut my power off, but left my water on. So I would have no power, but I'd have water. Not hot water, but I'd have water, but I could boil it. I can boil water still. Gas, still had. So I could still provide heat and all those things, but it was summertime, so. But we decided we're going to leave. Got a job at Walmart. Well, before I got the job at Walmart, I was a supervisor at FedEx. I used to have a 14-inch knife because I was delivering in the boonies. And dogs aren't so nice in the boonies, especially in areas where they aren't accustomed to seeing people of the darker hue. I had a employee get caught in the machine, and I used that 14-inch knife to help cut him out because he was screaming, "I can't breathe." The machine had caught his uniform, and it was conveyor belt, and wrapped it up and literally had him bent over, and it grabbed his sleeve and pulled it all to where it literally was choking him. So I used this 14-inch knife in front of the plant manager and in front of my supervisors to cut him loose. Didn't get in trouble for it. Then thought to myself, 14-inch knife is kind of too big, so I bought a smaller knife. It was a 3.7 inches, 3.7-inch fixed blade, size of a soda can. Then I made a delivery to FedEx Express, and they took a picture of the knife on my side and made a complaint, because apparently you're not supposed to have knives. Or you can have a knife according to FedEx, but it can only be 3.5 inches. And mine was 3.7, so I got fired for it. That's the only time a man would get in trouble for extra inches. But instead of trying to fight it and trying to argue with them, I just went and looked for more work, because that's what a dad does. He just looks for more work. At the time I got fired, the water leak issue started. So it raised my bill from $100 a month to $360 a month just for the water. The water company said I was using as much as a company. They asked if I was running a business. I said, yeah, but I don't use water. I don't need water to make t-shirts. I don't need water to run construction. I just need the water to wash clothes and the kids. Took me 3 months, so I ended up with that fight, and they cut my power off but leave the water on. So even though I was paying, it was just impossible to catch up. So within a month, I had another job. Not even a month, a couple of weeks, and started working at first for a local businessman who ran a weed shop. But I decided it's not the best place, to have my kids coming up to, because I made a promise that I wouldn't sell drugs, and the devil will work his way in to where you'll try and do things to say that you're not going to do, and he'll make it to where you're doing it. And I was like, yeah, I'm selling weed in a store and it's legal, but I'm still selling drugs. So it kind of hurt my pride a little bit, and it's not something I wanted to promote to my kids of how to make it. So I literally applied at the Family Dollar across the street. Well, the issue with the Family Dollar is that the HVAC system during the summer, instead of blowing cold air, they had not fixed it, so it was blowing heat into the store. So it would be 90 degrees outside and 109 degrees in the store. My manager had a medical condition where she gets overheated and she'd have seizures. I have a medical condition, multiple sclerosis, where heat is not a good thing for you. It hurts you, like in ways that don't even show. So I had to leave that job. And I was like, I'll find something else. Applied everywhere. And when I say everywhere, I mean I applied everywhere. I even applied to be an ICE agent. Made it through the first series. I would have been one with a $20,000 sign-on bonus. They would have moved my family to Texas, where my homeboy, Frank Lucas, was. And I was like, I'll just go there. He's got a place. He said he'd put us up and I'd be working and they'd help me get into a place working for ICE. But I failed the legal portion of the test, which is not the background or anything, because there's nothing on my record. No drug charges. I've never been to jail before. First time I went to jail was from this incident. But they told me I could reapply in 6 months. So I still kept kicking. Got hired on at Walmart. But during this time, the government was shut down. So Walmart said I'd have to wait a month. Had a job, but have to wait a month. I said, that's okay. During that time, my wife took up DoorDashing to help and pay for things. While the power is off, the church helped us with a power generator so that the kids would have electricity, because you can't have kids in a house without electricity. So we still had hot water, still had a place to store food, and we were just trying to bide our time. Me and my wife had decided, once I'm done with training, because I found out once I started a month later that I could put in a transfer. I I said, I can transfer back home. We can go back home and where we have family and support and we're not out here alone. Oh, and my dad, who we moved out here to see, after my grandma passed, his mother, they had to move back to the East Coast too. My father was a Camp Lejeune soldier, and for those of you near Camp Lejeune, it was during the time where they had poisonous water, so he's battling various medical conditions brought on to him for serving his country because of dirty water, and he's still battling those conditions. He's lost some things, he's lost a lot of things, and he's still kicking and he's still fighting. But that's not my story to tell. So after my dad left and we were out here by ourselves, I decided, yeah, it's time to leave. After working at Walmart overnight for 1 week, landlord decides to put the house up for sale because, inflation. So this house she had bought in a package with other houses and only paid $40,000 for was now worth $205,000. So, that's just a good business decision. That's over 300% profit. Who wouldn't make that deal? If it was my house, I'd make that deal. Can't blame her for it. But the issue she had was that Zillow used the picture from Google Maps, and you can even look it up today, 312 West Gladys. And they came around right after Christmas. The snow had melted, so the house is decorated, and Christmas, it's got old kid toys, old bikes and things. My kids played outside all the time. You can tell someone lives there. This is a lived-in house. It's a home. And you'll also see the porch is screened in. That I built. I got her permission to do it. Well, she decided she wanted all of that stuff removed. She even told me the only toys my kids were allowed to have outside was one bike per child. Didn't know a landlord had that power either. And she stated she was going to show up because I had lost my job and the only vehicle I had was the FedEx truck. I would use it to haul off extra trash to the dump. My boss had no issue with it, with me being a supervisor. So she showed up that day. And on top of that, she also demanded that the screened-in porch be ripped down. She wanted it completely gone. Now, I had told her that when, that's why I got permission, that to build a screen-in porch, I have to attach it to the house, and I had a concrete porch. So once it's attached, it's what insurance or a home inspector would call a permanent fixture. If you install a ceiling fan, that's a permanent fixture. That's not just a lamp you plug in the wall. It's a part of the house now. But she wanted it torn down. So I'm working overnights. And then when I get off at 7 in the morning, I'm tearing down this porch. And I'm also removing all the kids' toys and things. And she said, I'll be there, I think it was the 5th or the 8th. I can't remember. It was a year ago. I'd have to look up my criminal record because it was the day I was arrested. So I said, that's fine. That'd be great if you showed up. And she said, I'm bringing a trailer to haul it off. I said, that's awesome. Great. Because I don't have a truck. I don't have a way to, my wife had a Ford Fusion. Not much you can get in there trash wise. Can't put a mattress in a Ford Fusion. Can't put anything in a Ford Fusion to haul off. So we decided, so I was doing it anyway. The generator died 2 days or a week before the generator died. The pastor came to go get it fixed. And the kids had been staying with a friend, sleeping on the couch with the wife while I'm working overnights and getting off and tearing down the porch and clearing the house, because we just decided, the same way we came out here is the same way we'll leave. Throw everything away except for what we need. Pastor even paid another pastor who does haul-offs to come and help us that day. So that morning, it's the worst day of my life. Even worse than 5 days in the hospital and excruciating pain from multiple sclerosis. Landlord shows up. Our kids, I had set up tents because they couldn't go in the house because I had been tearing it up. There's nails and things everywhere. There's, trash everywhere. So I was like, you guys can't go in the house. No reason for you to go in the house. They were already dressed for school, and they asked if they could play in the tent. So I told them, yeah, while you wait for your bus, play in the tent. Had 2 tents, popped it up. One was a deer hunting tent, and one was like a 2-man tent. So the landlord shows up before the kids get on the bus, and she sees the kids coming out of the tents, fully dressed, backpacks on, and gives the accusation that I have kids sleeping in tents. First person to accuse me of that. She then begins to brag about how she has a friend at CPS, and if she called her, they would take our children. And I told her no, they wouldn't. We're leaving. Like, you just served us an eviction notice. We're already leaving. Like, I'm doing everything you asked. Instead of hauling off the trash, she bagged up all of the debris from tearing down the porch, all the toys, and I had taken trash from the house, and she set it in our driveway and left it there. Then she left. Now, in my mind, in order for a landlord to do this, you have re-seized control of your property. It's no longer mine. Even though I was given a 15-day notice, it's no longer mine. So we decided we'd let the kids go to school, because I told my wife, let's just take the kids and go. Tell the school. She said, no, let's not do that to the kids. Let's let them say goodbye to their friends. At least have that chance. I said, okay, well, I'll go to the job. So after kids went to school, I was frustrated arguing with the landlord. I went to my job and asked for a transfer. Asked Walmart to transfer me back home. Walmart had 3 different managers from 3 different stores say, we will open a position. Just tell us when he's coming. So we go back home, say we'll get the clothes. So when the kids get off the bus, we'll pack them in the car and we'll just head out. We'll go. We'll leave. They'll be at their grandparents' house. We'll stay with the sister-in-law. When we came back from meeting with my job, CPS and the police department, well, it's not a police department. Let me explain it to you. They are public safety officers. Here in Missouri, a town can elect for a militia to enforce laws. And that militia is the acting police force, but they are not technically police officers. They have not sworn oaths to uphold the Constitution and things like that. They've sworn oaths to uphold the laws of the city, which the city council members have sworn to uphold the Constitution. So it's kind of like a leeway bypass, a workaround, if you say. They were there for 2 hours. Said that we got a call about kids living in a tent. Kids weren't in the tent. Never saw the kids in the tent. When they showed up, kids weren't even on the property. When they showed up, nobody was on the property. Under oath, the caseworker and both public safety officers stated, we didn't actually investigate. So you took an accusation, looked at the house, saw a black man and a white woman and said, yeah, it's true, probable cause, which is all they need out here, and arrested us. Instead of letting the state take our family I then went to some neighbors who had kids, and our kids played with their kids, and I cried to them. I begged and I pleaded for them just to take my kids so the state wouldn't separate them, because I got 5. There's no place the state can no foster home that can immediately take in 5 kids. And they did. And I thank God for the Crawfords. I thank him every day for them, because they kept my babies together. So that's a family safety plan, is what CPS calls it. Send us to jail. Here's the kicker. I had money in my pocket to get the power cut on that day. But the power company told me not to because of the water leak. Even if I paid to have my power cut on, in 5 days the new bill would print and they'd cut it back off. So why give them the money that I need to get across the country to get back to North Carolina? So I said, okay, makes sense. We'll just grab our shit, we'll go, we'll finish clearing out the house. I wasn't looking to get a deposit back. I'm cool with that. We were arrested on a no warrant bond. It was a Friday. So when you get arrested in Missouri on a no warrant bond, police officers are allowed to hold you for 24 hours. And during that 24 hours, they submit their probable cause to the 33rd District. And the 33rd District, someone there reviews the case and decides if they'll take it. They put falsified information. My race they had listed as N, which is Negro, which the Supreme Court has already ruled on as a racist term. They later changed it after preliminary to black. But even in their report, the sergeant has me listed as a white male. $8,000 within 48 hours was given to the state for me and my wife to make bail. Yeah, they arrested my wife too. And my wife's name isn't on the lease. It's not on the power bill. The kids' names aren't even on the lease. In fact, the only thing on the lease is my name. I'm the only one physically responsible for it. So they then, and I'm sorry this is a long video, but this is the past year of my life. It's a mile in my shoes. And it hurts. I'm trying not to break down as I talk about it. I'm trying not to be hurt as I talk about it. But $8,000. It only cost me $2,500 to catch up on rent, pay the light and the gas bill, which at the time was $1,400. So it cost me more to get me and my wife out of jail than it would to pay everything to be up to standard. CPS did not do a family safety plan. After we were arrested, our oldest child, after 48 hours, checked herself in to a suicide watch clinic because my oldest two were under medical treatment through Boot Hill Counseling, and had mandated reporters come into my house every week, meeting them at school, and were aware of everything. CPS was out 30 days before when our power had first gotten cut off, and released a statement that the children weren't in danger. Even after we were arrested, they released another statement stating the children weren't in danger, but I'm facing 5 felonious charges of not child endangerment, but child abuse, mental and physical. There are no medical records, no bruises, no anything to support the abuse claims. So my lawyer has been trying to deposition the CPS caseworker to answer. stated it was a scheduling issue for the day of her deposition. You check her Facebook, she went to a wedding. I didn't know weddings were an excuse not to show up to court. And then months later, still not showing up. And that's what's been going on for the past year, where I show up to court. The judge asks, is CPS involved? Child advocate says no. He asks, is the juvenile court involved? They say no. So they jump past all procedures to send me and my wife directly to circuit court. The place where they would put people who have really abused children, sexually abused, like physically, death of a child. And it continues. But all through it all, I'm still thankful. I'm still grateful to God that my babies are together. They're happy. They're thriving. I still get to talk to them. And next week, I'm going to go see them for the first time in a year. I get to hug my babies. I get to tell them I love them. And it not be through a phone. As creepy as it sounds, I get to smell their hair. See their smiles, hear their laughs. I am so angry. I am so pissed. And there's not a fucking thing I can do about it. Except for pray. And walk this path. So, I'll update you next time I go to court, whenever that is, whenever that may be. And I expect it to be the same answers that I've been getting for the past year. Continuation. Thanks for taking the time just to listen to the story. Feel my pain. My name is Terrell D. Johnson, Tearle. If you're really curious, you can look it up on Missouri CaseNet. See for yourself.